What is meant by the term cardiac output?
So cardiac output is the volume of blood ejected by the ventricles per unit time. Normally the stroke volume is about 17 mils, so the units of volume usually milliliters, the unit of time is usually minutes, so usually this is described as mils per minute.
Okay. And what is the cardiac index and how is it related?
So the cardiac output varies with body size. So the cardiac index is a way of standardizing cardiac output to limit the impact of that variability. And the cardiac index is given by the cardiac output divided by the body surface area.
Okay. And what values would constitute the normal cardiac output and cardiac index for a typical adult?
The cardiac output is the product of the stroke volume and the heart rate. The stroke volume for a resting adult would typically be approximately 70 milliliters, and the heart rate would approximately be 70 beats per minute at rest, which would give you a cardiac output of 4,900 mils per minute. So roughly, you could say that the cardiac output is equal to 5 liters per minute, approximately.
And the cardiac index?
Yeah, so the cardiac index, a typical value would be between 3 and 3.5 mils per minute, as we described.
What factors affect cardiac output?
There are a variety of factors that affect cardiac output, and these are best if you break it down into the constituent parts. So stroke and heart rate. So if we do with heart rate first, the factors that affect heart rate are primarily the autonomic nervous system, as well as drugs and disease state. The factors that affect stroke volume is comprised of preload, contractility, and afterload. So preload is defined as the end diastolic ventricular wall tension. This is analogous to the volume of blood returned from the central venous circulation to the right ventricle. This is affected by a number of different factors. So it's affected by the venous pressure, which is itself a product of both the venous tone and the venous blood volume. It's affected by various pumps. So you have 3 different pumps to think about. So skeletal, cardiac, and respiratory. So the skeletal muscle pump refers to the contraction of the skeletal muscles propelling blood through the deep veins back into the central venous circulation, so particularly the calf muscles. The respiratory pump refers to the impact on venous blood flow intrathoracically with variations in intrathoracic pressure through the respiratory cycle. So in normal negative pressure respiration, you generate negative intrathoracic pressure, which through traction increases the diameter of your central veins. And as we know from the positive more increase in the radius increases the flow. So you get increased venous return, venous blood flow return to the heart with negative intrathoracic pressure. The relevance of this, particularly for anaesthetists, is with positive intrathoracic pressure, where it converts this treatment. So positive pressure inflation induces a state of relative hypovolemia due to reduced venous return. Finally, the cardiac one. So when the ventricles contract, the fibrous atrioventricular ring is pulled downwards, elongating the atria, thus reducing the pressure inside the atria, which allows for a greater pressure gradient from the veins to the atria, and thus improves venous return. And finally, 2 other factors. So there's patient position. So the venous system is much more capacity, so it can accommodate much more blood, and a degree of that blood will pool in the dependent portions, in the gravity-dependent portions of the body. So, as a consequence of this pooling with gravity, you're standing, obviously less blood goes to the heart on the lung and lead head down. And finally, the presence of valves ensure unidirectional flow throughout the system. So that's preload. Contractility is defined as the intrinsic force of contraction of the myocardium for a given preloading of the room. This is affected by the sympathetic nervous system, by drugs of release states again. So, for example, dopamine or sepsis will both affect your intrinsic contractility. And as well as this, it can be affected by the heart rate itself. So an increase in the heart rate produces an intrinsic increase in contractility through a phenomenon known as the voltage. Finally, afterload. So there are two key things to afterload. First of all is the patency of the outflow tract, which is, for example, the problem of aortic stenosis. And finally, the resistance offered by the systemic arterial circulation. The systemic vascular resistance is also affected by multiple factors. These are best thought of in three ways. So there is local, human, and neural components to the systemic vascular resistance. So local factors include myogenic autoregulation, so the abilities of different organs of the body to dilate or constrict their arteries to maintain a constant perfusion pressure in spite of their own systemic vascular, moving arterial pressures. And the other one is local metabolites. So, for example, we know that carbon dioxide is a metabolic product, causes vasodilation. Humoral factors, there are a huge number of different things that influence arterial dilation or constriction. Particularly relevant are nitric oxide, adrenaline, and vasopressin. But obviously others such as the kinins, histamines, angiotensin 2 will play a role as well. And finally, neural again takes us back to the autonomic nervous system.
Great. How can cardiac output be measured?
So the measurement of cardiac output is best classified into non-invasive, minimally invasive, and invasive techniques. Deal with these in turn. So non-invasive techniques, these are things such as transthoracic joint, Doppler echocardiography, magnetic resonance imaging, and you can have transthoracic bioimpedance. Minimally invasive techniques, the classic one is esophageal Doppler. And invasive techniques. These require the insertion of a central line, an arterial line, or a pulmonary ventricle. And these are best subclassified into those that rely on the Fick principle and those that rely on pulse contour analysis. So the Fick principle techniques can either be the direct Fick method, can be thermo dilution, or can be dilution techniques. Pulse contour analysis is again further divided into calibrated and uncalibrated. So the calibrated systems that we see in use are the LIDCO and the Pico systems. Uncalibrated systems are things like flow track or LIDCO rapid.
Great. What is the Fick principle?
So the Fick principle, so mentioned here, so the Fick principle states that the blood flow to an organ is equal to the rate of uptake of trace substance by that organ, divided by rate of uptake, divided by the arterial venous concentration difference.
Lovely. That's all my questions.
That was mostly structure-based rather than content.
That was good.
But it's like a thing to try and handle things, and you could then dig down into anything else. You might get asked a little bit about. Yeah, you might get asked how one directs it. That'd be a right question to ask.
Yeah.
Did you know about those.
No.
So that's the one that uses oxygen as the tracer substance.
Oh, right.
So you have a pulmonary artery and stuff, an arterial, and you have the substance, the subject breathing in own concentration of oxygen, 100% oxygen, and you measure the mixed venous oxygen content and the arterial oxygen content. Obviously, that gives you the arterial venous concentration, as well as the rate of uptake, which you can measure from your close sphincter.
Okay. You can use really like this. What was the Fick? What's the Fick principle again?
The Fick principle is it's that the flow to an organ
Is
rate.
there another way of writing?
There probably is. That's the way I learned it.
Like with the CO2,
that sounds a lot like the shunt equation, which is yeah, I think it's like that. I think it's arterial minus capillary divided by venous minus capillary. I think. What might be the other different from the other? Can't quite remember. Is that good?
There's just loads of cardiac. Because previous I haven't done that.
It is, yeah, it's very equation friendly. You could just ask about doctor equations. That's my band little list of equations. That's it's quite good actually. Cool. Should we MCBs together?
Did you come up with this yourself, or was this?
What the structure?
The structure, yeah.
The structure is mostly from the the standard one I use. I'm sure it's got Justin Phillips as one of the authors. Not Justin Phillips.
Yeah.
You've got to keep that if you want to just get structure.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's from different chapters in the book, so they address systemic vascular resistance in different chapters. But I can't.
I see.
Cool.
Regarding baroreceptors, rate of baroreceptor firing increases with increase in blood pressure. That is true.
Yeah. Exactly.
Afferent impulses from the aortic arch carried on the vagus nerve. Afferent is going from perpendicular and basically and the carotid sinus is the carotid sinus. Arterial baroreceptors are located in the aortic arch of the body and pulse.
Good, nice.
The Bainbridge reflex causes an increase in heart rate. Bainbridge reflexes, the reflexes get really good, very good for the inspiratory scientifically, so that is true.
Nice, good.
Baroreceptor firing is reduced during phase 3 of Valsalva maneuver. So phase 3 is when you release the intrathoracic pressure. Therefore, yeah, you do get a reduced firing, you get a drop in blood pressure. And a reduced firing, which drives sympathetic, so it is reduced. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah. Yeah, with Valsalva maneuver.
Yeah. We've got to try and talk to it.
Do you want to do
Is that right? So
you want help to draw? When you draw it, help to draw.
Let's see. So Valsalva maneuver is force expiration against close blockers and increases in used to look for autonomic neuropathy in diabetic patients and it can also be used to check the bleeding in surgery and using so it consists of 4 phases. Phase 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. In phase 1, there is a graph. So you look at the blood pressure and in phase 1, you do the maneuver and it causes an increase. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It results in an increase in thoracic pressure.
Yeah.
This reduces venous return, but the pressure triggers the baroreceptors within the thorax, resulting in increased volume, therefore inhibitory effect on the
Drop in blood pressure. So they're stretch receptors. You test the more they're stretched, the more they find.
Yeah.
No. So you have a drop in blood pressure to get a reduction in the return. So the first thing is you introduce the compressor vessels, no blood gets out of the right atrium, so you reduce stroke volume, so you reduce blood pressure, so you reduce your blood pressure. So you get unopposed to sympathetic. So the sympathetic system kicks in to restore your blood pressure.
There's initially a drop in heart rate.
So you'll get a drop in your blood pressure and everything. So the blood pressure is what's affected, and the heart rate is the response.
Yeah.
So the heart rate is the response. And the heart rate, that's why you're looking for to make sure the heart rate responds as it should do.
Yeah.
So your blood pressure drops, and you get an increase in the heart rate. Then your blood pressure comes up as a result of that.
It's sort of slightly afterwards.
The heart rate increases and then settles down as your blood pressure. So it increases and then settles down.
Okay, and then during phase 2, you've got the plateau phase, so it's held for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
As it continues, the heart rate is
so
blood pressure comes.
Exactly, yeah. So your heart rate is increased to compensate, and then your blood pressure will come up again because after you apply medication, you start to get your return of your system, your blood flow system. So your heart rate settles down.
And then when you release,
yeah, that's basically when you release
the Valsalva, you get a drop in blood. Yeah, so you release, so then you get a drop in blood pressure. But the output is against an ongoing high systemic vascular resistance initially. So the drop in blood pressure happens.
So you compress the venous system, right? You release the intracranial pressure, and initially you suddenly release the pressure on the venous system. All the blood returning from your tummy and your legs then fills the venous system in the chest rather than against the heart. So your preload drops further in this fills the veins first. So you then essentially get another drop in blood pressure on an already high heart. But it's only in the transient thing. So the heart rate climbs again.
Yeah.
And then, because your blood then goes from the veins to the right side of the heart again, but you still got a massive heart rate, you then get this overshoot of your blood pressure.
Yeah.
Until that gets spotted and corrected by a significant parasympathetic discharge. In response to the evolution to the blood pressure, really high sympathetic parasympathetic, which is why it's a treatment for sympathetic because we have a massive parasympathetic surge. And then that brings your heart
So the phase 3 is just that immediate, like almost less than a second. We've released all the pressure, but instead of getting from the legs to the right side of my heart, because I've now got one zone in the venous system, just fill the veins, just fill the heart. And so your net stroke volume is very low, so your net blood pressure is very low, and that gets detected really quickly by the receptors, which then increases the ventricular. And then suddenly you're filling the heart with loads of blood because we're going back to a non-compressed venous system, and you still got this massive sympathetic outflow, which is what causes this overshoot.
Oh, that's so cool.
It is, yeah. And it's just kind of working out what the sequence of events is that controls everything else, what's driving it and what's responding to it is quite helpful.
Triggering the band receptors causes parasympathetic.
Just think about it in terms that the baroreceptors respond to increased stretch, increased blood pressure, and therefore counteract. It's the intrathoracic pressure in the venous capacitance and intrathoracic. It's the kind of key thing.
Yeah.
That was extra stroke. Yeah. And the heart rate response as well. They're always just trying to maintain the blood pressure.
Cool.
That would be quite an easy thing to examine in the new system. Because they could just pull up a graph and have phase 1, 2, 3, 4, and say which flow happens here, phase 1, flow happens phase 2. Yeah. Cool.
Blood flow is running blood flow to the right ventricular myocardium is active in systole. That's both left.
Yeah. And I don't think it's totally absent from this either. It depends on what you read. There is a graph in the physiology textbook which shows that there is at least some, but there is a period in systole where there is not a maximum intervention.
The right coronary artery originates from the anterior aortic sinus. That is correct.
Yeah, nice.
The sinus atrium node is usually supplied by the right coronary artery. In 60%.
Nice, really good.
An increase in heart rate reduces perfusion time for ventricular muscle. Yes, it does.
Well,
It usually does. Diastole, that's one of the main coronary arteries. The heart has the highest blood flow per 100 grams of tissue per minute. We say no.
what would I higher?
It's the brain.
So I think the heart's actually higher than the brain.
Like the
Kidneys are higher. Kidneys are definitely higher. And I think that the one that I couldn't find a reference to this one. The aortic bodies, their own organs, and they've got massive blood flow. But yeah, so I know the kidneys are according to the blue book. Oh,
It's got the highest oxygen.
it might well have the highest oxygen
Consumption.
extraction. Yeah, so there's the first one's false, the other three which were in the last one's false. Great. Good stuff.
In the left ventricular pressure volume, the pressure is displayed in the x-axis. No.
Good.
The end-systolic cardiovascular resistance.
Pressure volume.
Pressure volume reflects contractility. So the diagram.
Enjoy it.
Which one?
Excuse me. Yeah.
So we've got volume, pressure.
Yep.
And then
Yeah, great.
So this is low pressure, low volume. This is end diastole. No, end systole. you've not got a lot of pressure. You've not got much more to project it, but you haven't started to project it. Let's start here. So high pressure, high volume.
Okay, think about another straight. Exactly, it's exactly. So you've got two straight lines vertically, right? So there must be periods where the volume is not changing because it's just
Yeah.
So they must be isovolumetric or something.
Yeah. So that's isovolumetric contraction. That's isovolumetric relaxation.
So when is the beginning of
Here. No, here.
yeah, exactly. What way around does it do? What area is it?
So isovolumetric contraction.
Yeah.
So it's just like the cardiac cycle.
Exactly.
And then there's a rejection.
Yeah. Because the volume is changing and decreasing.
Yeah. And this is isovolumetric relaxation. This is
Volume increasing without much pressure.
Yeah.
So when we said when the beginning is consistent is, we're thinking about diastole. So what would the beginning of systole also be referred to as?
and diastole. So that's it.
Exactly. And diastolic pressure. And so that would be in systole.
Okay.
And do you remember what? Because they aren't actually changing the graph. It's on
Like,
yeah, exactly. That's good.
like that.
Good. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Something equivalent to that. Good. So what was the question? Was
And then reflex contractility.
then systolic pressure.
So that's pressure. So if we did the graph, that's well, if we did the gradient.
Then systolic pressure.
Oh, this one. No.
So I think there's the easiest way to think about this, right? So do you remember what the other one is? So one of them is reflex contractility. Do you remember what the other one represents? The other one represents ventricular compliance.
Okay. To see.
So ventricular compliance is change in volume per given change in pressure, right?
Yeah.
When's the ventricular volume being stilled by pressure? That's during diastole.
Yeah.
So that's the ventricular compliance, the gradient. So the gradient curve is actually drawn long. So that's your ventricular compliance. And systole is all about contraction. Systole is all about the contraction. So the end systolic the volume and pressure change throughout the system must be contracted.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. Cool. Nice.
The shape is similar to the right. It's similar, but it's not the same. The right ventricle is more like a triangle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is.
You haven't got
similar.
Yeah.
I would have said probably not. I think it's quite a different shape. So it's quite small at the time. Yeah, you know the shapes.
Increasing preload will increase the width of the loop and shift the environment. So preload will increase cardiac output and potential stroke volume. So it would increase the width because width is the volume.
Good.
And shift it to the right, so you're starting, it would shift to the right because you're starting with the larger volumes.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
The stroke volume would be determined. Yes.
You should tell them three things.
Just
Okay. Exactly. Perfect. So you do know. When drawing this, and you won't remember the answer to it, I think it does help understanding. I will start with obviously goes back with And I think it's essentially starts with simple numbers, so 70 and 120. I'd say 40 is noise. What's your I think put some numbers on the graph on the actually hurts me. And I would say that your normal stroke volume is the one to the curve in normal physiology, right? So your normal stroke volume, end-diastolic volume, sorry, systolic volume, the volume is usually neutrals. So you know the 2 points, what's the curve in between those 2 points. And your pressure when the ventricles start filling from atrium, must mean atrial pressure is higher than ventricular pressure. So that would be around about this, and atrial pressure is around about half, so close to 10. The filling of then you get the volume of the maximum. So I would plot 4 points. Here, and then go, where am I going to start rejecting blood out of ventricles? When the pressure, yeah, but so when what pressure does the pressure of the ventricles exceed the pressure in the beginning of the system? That's not pressure, so that really makes it easy. That's short. And then the peak start pressure of about 120 minutes. And then the is a halfway to. So after those 4 minutes, you just draw a loop to ejection begins when ventricular pressure exceeds the pressure. If the pressure still continues to climb in the rapid does, then determinant. And then the aortic valve will close and the pressure from the artery is going to pressure similar between the 2 minutes. And that's when you get reduction in ventricular pressure until the pressure of ventricles is now lower than the pressure of the ventricle. So that sort of thing just helps you conceptualize, at least help me conceptualize the points of the graph. And I put those 4 points. And if you think about this is ventricular filling, so it's got to affect components, special components. You know, that's the energy that dumps the air. And then that's the other system. Just conceptually that really makes no sense to me. Let's take a look. Sorry, you got from the start.
That's what I need.
You know, you got everything on those questions trying to call through. I mean, I'm going to just a difference in our definition of the words in there.